Joan and Molly.
It is the running of the bulls through the Shabbos night. Barcelona never looked so right.
She's fine.
You can lead some of these.
You know, the Hebrew of tonight, the Hebrew date, this is actually your Parsha, your Torah portion. It's a very special one that is sung differently than any other time. So it'll be January 15th, but this is the Hebrew date, so it's a very special Torah portion. And I actually, you know, there's a cantor who's a friend of Daddy and mine, and I heard him do the Sephardic recording of it today. It was amazing. So I feel like no, it's totally what they do in Prince of Egypt. That's based on the Sephardic one. You'll have to listen to this and see what you like the most.
Well, anybody who's interested in Sephardic Chazanut can go to SephardicChazanutproject.org and hear everything said in Sephardic Chazanut.
Okay, well, I was thinking it was awesome.
Yeah.
You did. Oh, well, that's a disturbing concept, actually. But, you know, it's a Christian story, too, so
It's a universal story of redemption.
All right, Molly, what you have to say? Redemption, it means to be made when someone makes you free. You're
really
redeemed.
Beautiful. We'll read the story together, the real one. Love that.
It's cool. And there's not, you know why? Because Sandra Bullock was in it.
Miriam.
Terrible casting. And Val Kilmer.
Pharaoh.
Oof. He's not Vin Diesel.
He wishes he was.
I don't remember who Moses is. Do you know who Moses is in that movie?
Who remembers Moses? No.
It was like Jeff Goldblum was like Aaron or something. It was like I don't know. It was. I think he might have been Aaron. Yeah, it was upsetting casting. You're gonna be okay. That's probably true. All right, welcome everyone. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you for joining us on this snowy night, and we hope that you are home and that you are comfy. And whether you are watching by yourself or whether you're with your family, we're so glad that you're here with us. And tonight for us is a special night because we know that we have been at this now for a very long time, and there are so many people in our community who are really helping to make this happen. And so tonight we're honoring all of our frontline workers. I know many of you were on the pre-Oneg before, and I hope you had a lovely time there. And so tonight through our service, we're just going to be offering different blessings and words in your honor to just show you just how very grateful we are for everything you do, even though we know there are no words that could really make up for it. So we thought we would start with a song that I know is many of your favorites and is one that's really all about the idea that we hope that each of you, each member of our community, feel God's protection at all times, but especially when we're together on Shabbat. May the Lord protect and defend you. May God always shield you from shame. May you come to be in Israel a shining name. May you be like Ruth and like Esther. May you be deserving of praise.
bless you and grant you long
May the
life.
Lord fulfill our Sabbath prayer for you.
May God keep you and shield you from
May
strife.
God in God's wisdom always care for you.
May the Lord protect and defend.
May the Lord protect and
May
defend
God
you.
always shield you from
May
shame.
God always shield you from shame.
Favor us, O
Favor us, O
Lord, with
Lord,
happiness and
with
peace.
happiness.
Oh,
Hear our Sabbath prayer. Amen. We know that Sabbath prayer is really a prayer that is about children and is about family. And while it's one we wish for all of us, we have been beginning these services by inviting our children, who are the only ones who are able to be with us since we're still sheltering in place, to help us say our blessings so that we can help you lead your blessings at home. And so we're going to begin tonight with our Shabbat candles. Oh, wait, I know. It's okay. It's okay. It's an old one.
Almost done. Next week we'll only have one.
We have more matches.
Good job.
So together we bring in the spirit of Shabbat. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'adlik ner shel Shabbat. Beautiful. And this week we honored Tu B'Shvat, the new year of the trees, so it's nice to have something sweet and yummy. This is not actually fruit juice, but it's close enough, so if you lift your Kiddush cups, it does theoretically have fruit in it.
For those of you that have the fruit of the vine, wherever you are, and if you're watching, please.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pari hagafen.
L'chaim.
You can actually have
L'chaim.
a juice.
That's true. All right, and then tonight we have a very special challah from Mora Diane. This one has sprinkles. Don't lift it up because then we'll have to clean it up forever. We're just going to leave it there and get all the sprinkles later, but I bet everyone can see how beautiful. Oh, no, you can eat it. I just don't want to spill it on the bima. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Oh, it's so beautiful. I almost don't want to eat it, but you can. No, you go crazy. It's okay. We'll clean up the sprinkles.
And for those of you that were wondering, what should I do if I want to celebrate my birthday on Shabbat? I think that Mor Diane has given us a great idea.
That's true.
And if you don't know how to make it, then request one from a friend.
Oh, sorry.
So we also like to do our blessings for family. So if you
was so
have
good.
either, if your family with you, or if you want to give them blessings from afar, traditionally, first we bless our sons in the names of Ephraim and Manasseh.
Yisimcha Elohim ka'Ephraim v'chi Manasseh. May God make you great like Ephraim and Manasseh, our ancient ancestors who led us in the time of Egypt and gave us inspiration in days after that.
And for our girls, we say, Yisimech Elohim kasara Rivka Rachav v'Leah. May God make you like Sarah and Rebecca, Rachel and Leah, the matriarchs of her people. And then together we say, Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God bless you and keep you. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'yichunecha.
May God's light shine upon you and give you grace as you go on your way.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
Amen.
May God's countenance be lifted over you. It may be granted with wholeness and with peace. And with sprinkles.
That's it.
Lots of sprinkles. So we have so many different blessings and prayers that we want to offer tonight, and some of them are our own words, some are written by colleagues and thinkers throughout the world right now. This first one is by Rabbi Ayelet Cohen with a few of our own changes to it. It says, "May the one who blessed our ancestors, those who navigate the unfolding dangers of the world each day to tend to those they have sworn to help, bless them in their coming home and bless them in their going out. Ease their fear, sustain them, source of all breath, healer of all beings, protect them and restore their hope. Strengthen them that they may bring strength. Keep them in health that they may bring healing. Help them know again a time when they can breathe without fear. Bless the sacred work of their hands. May this plague pass from among us, speedily and in our days. We say words of blessing, hoping that we are able in some way to bring blessing upon ourselves. And we call each other with these words of blessing, the words of the Baruch Hu. If you're following along in your service tonight, it can be found on page 28. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. We know that there is a prayer that we say that we are supposed to say in the morning when we wake up and when we go to bed at night. So too, it's the prayer that we say when we are drawing our last breaths, these sacred words of the Shema. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Va'ed. This week is a special week in our Torah. This is the week when we read the story of the Israelites crossing from slavery to freedom. And we know that some of the words that they said have been memorialized in our Siddur. They're words of freedom that we say every time we come together. These are the words of the Mi Chamocha. Mi Chamocha, Bailim Adonai, Mi Chamocha, Nedor Bakodesh, Norat Zilot, Oseh Feled, Norat Zilot, Oseh Feled, Mi Chamocha, Bailim Adonai, Mi Chamocha, Nedor Bakodesh.
We hold in our hearts all who are serving our community to keep us safe, many at risk to their own lives. Those who keep the electricity on and the water flowing, those who provide food for our tables and health care for the sick, those who clean and repair and pick up the trash, those working in factories and transporting packages, those who are serving governments around the world in good faith, those developing new vaccines and treatments, those who help keep the peace and to put out literal and figurative fires, those creatively adapting to teaching students and leading communities, those caring for the dying, the dead, and the bereaved, and those caring for children and elders. We also hold in our hearts for all for whom these times are particularly challenging, those for whom sheltering at home is a danger, those who do not have a home, those who cannot go home, those who cannot visit with loved ones, those suffering from debilitating mental illness, those who have lost their sense of purpose, and those who are hungry. Torah commands us to love the stranger as ourselves, to remember that we were strangers in the land of Egypt, even as we shelter at home. May our love and acts of justice extend far beyond our households to support those in need of sustenance, protection, and healing. Make a Sukkot Shalom, a shelter of peace, to spread over all of humanity. And we say together, Adonai, Amen.
And so we sing of that Sukkot Shalom in the words of Hashkivenu. In your Siddur, it can be found on page 42. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. Ufros aleinu sukkot shlomecha, ufros aleinu sukkot shlomecha. Shelter us beneath thy wings, O Adonai. Guard us from all harmful things, O Adonai. Keep us safe throughout the night, till we wake with morning's light. Teach us, God, wrong from right. Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu l'shalom, l'shalom. V'hamidenu shomreinu l'chaim. And if you're following our Siddur, we join now together in words of Tefillah of the Avot on page 46. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagid zahilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'hanora, Elyon, Gomer Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot v'imahot, U'mevii Geula livnei v'neihem, L'ma'an Shemo be'ahava, Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen. Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, Bezrat Sarah. Now this next prayer that we usually do right after that is called our Gvurot. And Gvurot, it means mighty, but it's also the same word in Hebrew that we use when we want to talk about heroes. We used to be specific about who we apply the word hero to. Our doctors and firefighting professionals, our activists and soldiers, our law enforcement professionals, and the occasional politician who stuck to their morals. We sometimes confabulate the words hero and fame. We're in awe of our rock stars and movie stars. Certain authors get the royal treatment, and in some communities, just being the person who tells you the weather will get you a better seat at dinner. We never considered the grocery store shelf stocker, the checkout person, the mail carrier, the one who brings us our boxes, often in 2 days or less. How about the one who is willing to go into the store for us, or the restaurant, to gather the things we need or even just want? Someone's bringing me a new TV today because I wouldn't dare leave the house. These people doing these tasks we used to think mundane are literally, and I'm literally not the one to use the word literally, they are literally risking their lives so ours can continue to thrive. I'd say they are our new heroes, but I think they've been our silent heroes this whole time. Anyone who does anything to keep the world moving so we are given the confidence to know that the sun will keep shining on the next new day is essential. Blessed are people in everything they do. Our world goes around on the back of their Torah. For essential workers, for all of us, we sing this prayer of peace, hoping that it comes our way, that each of us can feel that wholeness that we mean when we say the word shalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. Ki ata melech Adon L'chol Shalom. Ki ata melech Adon L'chol Shalom. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. V'tov beinecha levarech et amcha Yisrael b'chol tov v'chosha b'shlomecha. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam. Shalom Rav Yisrael Amcha Tasim La'olam.
Mishaberach Horenu, Sarah of Abraham, Yitzchak, Rivka, Leah, Rachel, Yaakov. May the one who blessed our ancestors, upheld and protected them through danger and despair, uphold and protect workers who serve our community in this time of illness and peril. Bless all those who bring their bodies and breath close to other people's bodies and breath in order to feed us, care for us, keep stores open and supplies delivered, and teach our children while the pandemic keeps the rest of us distance. Bless them with health of body and spirit. Bless them with strength of limb and purpose. Bless them with moments of joy and refreshment. May they be met every day with the gratitude and support that they deserve. May each person with whom they interact mask and distance appropriately and respect the risks they take on our behalf. Shomer Yisrael, guardian of all who struggle daily, ease their struggles and make smooth their path. Keep sickness and fear from them. Bless them in their going out and bless them in their coming home.
Amen. We say those words of Misha Berach, not just for all of those who are working so hard to keep us safe, but for those members of our community who we know have fallen ill. In particular, this week we are thinking of Arlene Alper, of Cheryl Brickman and Danny Brickman, of Gwen Finch and Max Jerome Williams, of Charles Beach and Jerry Krause, of Meredith Berkowitz and Tyler Testa, of Roberta Wolfman, and of Sanford Weiss. So thinking of all of them, thinking of everyone who is hurting, we sing our Misha Berach. Misha Berach Avotenu Mekor Bracha Leimotenu. May the source of strength who bless the ones before us help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Misha Berach Imotenu Mekor Bracha Lavotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen. Oh, say we decided to do this Shabbat honoring our frontline workers, we knew, let's to be clear, that like so much of what we do, it is not the same thing. And it is not as good as having you here with us. But when we kept thinking about what it means to honor frontline workers, I kept thinking just merely about the fact that we refer to you as frontline workers. Because this is a war, isn't it? It is a war against this sickness. It's a war against ignorance. It's a war against selfishness. It is a war against time. And what we've found, I think, is that there's so many people who are frontline workers who maybe never expected to be, and who all of us were realizing for the first time as we shared in the readings that maybe there are people who are there on the front line who've been there all along and who we never realized just how incredibly essential they were. And I know that especially with the vaccines coming out, we've been thinking more and more about sort of how do you categorize the frontline workers? How do you say there's this kind of frontline and this kind? And I started thinking about them this week in connection with this week's Torah portion. Because in this week's Parsha, they too, the Israelites, are also experiencing something totally frightening and something that is encompassing everyone and everything. Because they're having this moment where they are escaping to what they hope will be freedom, but really, in this Parsha, they are terrified. They are fleeing slavery in Egypt with Pharaoh right on their tail. They are crossing into the sea, and they're heading to a great unknown. But there are people on the front lines helping them all along. And so I thought I would share with you really sort of three individuals or three characters, I guess you could say, who for me in so many ways also exemplify the frontline workers in our life. And there's the story that's actually in the Torah, there's the Midrash, and then there's also, I think, a story that has yet to be written. First, I'll tell you about the one in the Midrash because chronologically, at least in the story, it comes first. You know, a midrash is a story that comes to fill in a blank in the Torah with something that makes no sense. And this midrash is one of my favorites because it's about what happens when the Israelites were standing at the shores of the sea. Because we don't have any reason to think that the sea just parted right away. And so the midrash says that they're all standing at the sea and not knowing what to do, and one man steps forward, and his name is Nachshon. And the story tells us that he walks into the water and he says those words that we sang earlier, Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, who is like you, God, among everyone who is worshipped. And he's walking in, the water is getting higher and higher until finally he says, Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai. And you have to imagine he's getting so deep in the water, it's all the way up to his chin. And finally, the waters part. And why does he do that? Because he knows that if he doesn't do it, no one else will. Because somehow he had the strength and the courage to be the one who stepped forward. And I think that Nachshon is really for all of our healthcare workers out there. For each and every one of you who knew that you were the only ones. You were the only ones who could be there to face this sickness head on. And you had no choice but to go to the doctor's offices and the dentist's offices and the hospitals and to sit in those buildings and be there with people who were sick. You, in so many ways, exemplify those words that we read in Pirkei Avot. You said, if I am only for myself, what am I? Each of you are our Nachshons, and it is because of you and your bravery and your strength that we're going to be able to fight this thing, to truly fight this sickness. Now, in the Torah story itself, we know there's this beautiful song, and it's sung by Moses. That's actually, this Torah portion is sometimes called Shabbat Shira. It's the Song of Moses, and it's cool. The Song of the Sea, we know, is actually one of the oldest things in the whole Torah. You can tell by the writing, and for some other reasons, that it's probably older than anything else. But I shouldn't say older than anything else, because there is this little snippet of song that is even older than that, and that is a few words that are the song of Miriam. Miriam, we are told, took her timbrel in her hand. That's where Debbie Friedman got it, right? Miriam, the prophet, took her timbrel in her hand, and all the women followed her just as she had planned. What does that mean? It means that when Miriam was leaving Egypt, that she realized that even though they had a tremendous life and death struggle ahead of them, that one of the things they were going to need to get through it is they were going to need those people who could keep the music going. that Miriam understood that they were going to need people who could somehow just keep society going, keep people's spirits up, be the ones who just kept things moving while these life and death struggles were happening. And I think the Miriams out there, you are our teachers. You are the ones who are working in our grocery stores. You are the ones who are delivery people. You are the ones who are helping take care to make sure that we still have beauty in our lives and education in our lives and those things that actually give us the ability, the spark each day to still wake up and say, okay, I can go on. I can get through another day of this. For each of you, for our Miriams out there, we are so very grateful that you have given us the joy and the creativity and the passion to make sure that we are moving forward every single day. The last group is the group that I think no one ever really thought about. You know, when we talk about what it was like when the Israelites were crossing the sea, and maybe you've even seen a painting of it before, but I've always thought of them just sort of, marching along, and it seems kind of happy. There's a song that we sing in our preschool, and it's a really happy song. They're like, standing at the sea, mi chamocha, marching at the sea, mi chamocha. Miss Megan does it better than I do, but it's a really happy song, and we imagine the Israelites just marching through, but we know that that is not what happened, right? We know that maybe there were people who were strong enough and courageous enough to just keep walking, but by their sides, there were all the moms and the dads and everyone who was trying to help those people who were sick, who was just schlepping everything along and making sure that every little thing was taken care of. For the rest of us, we are the schleppers, and we are still so important in this story because we need the people who are still just doing those daily tasks to keep things moving. The people who are keeping our buildings open and the people who are keeping the lights on, the people who are making sure that our society does not fail, even though so many of us feel like we are failing at home. For all of the schleppers, for all of the people who in so many ways seem forgotten, but who we know are the ones who are pushing and pushing everyone to get to whatever that promised land looks like, we know your story will not be forgotten. We will always make sure that we have gratitude for everyone who has done their little task to make sure that we get to the end of whatever this looks like. My friends, you are heroes. And I know that there are so many of you who we may never know exactly what it is that you did to get us through this time. But I hope that in the months and the years to come, that each of us will have the chance when we finally see each other again to share these stories, and more than anything to express our incredible gratitude to each of you, to the Nachshons, to the Miriams, and even to those forgotten schleppers, everyone who in some way helped get us through from Egypt to, God willing, freedom and health and happiness. At this time, though, we take a few moments and honor those who are not able to be with us, those whose lives were lost either to this terrible pandemic or to other illness. And our hearts go out to their families in sympathy as we recall those who were just lost in recent days. Sarah Ephron, Doris Fishman, Peggy Ross, Elaine Weniker. And we now recall the names of those the anniversary of whose death occurs on this Shabbat and whose names have been inscribed in the archives of our congregation or on the Wall of Honor for perpetual memorial. Hattie Barkin, Rose Berliner, Philip Bolian, Julius Surf, Julius Davis, Annabelle Diamond, Joseph J. Edlin, Michael Edlin, Charles Elias, Elaine Elias, August Frank, Nathan Garber, Leonard Gillis, Joseph Glazer, Jeannie Goldberg, Gertrude Greger, Barney Grossberg, Patricia Grossberg, Rachel Haddad, Harry Horn, John Isaacs, Catherine Glazer Jacobs, Raphael Jacobs, Harold Jungman, Donald W. Katz, Erna Shield Katz, Leon Katzenstein, Saul Kessler, Ann Trepp Koenigsberg, David Kriegshaber, Jacob Laufer, Fred Lederman, Sidney Lederman, Hattie Levy Lausheim, Fred Lowy, Florence Mainzer, William Milius, Mark Molaski, Lizzie Newman, Dr. Harry M. Offenbach, Robert Oxenhandler, Molly Remmel, Ida Rothman, Beatrix Salinger, Emma Samuels, Joseph Edwin Samuels, Cyril K. Schlansky, Dorothy Schumann, Ralph John Scherber, Isidore Singer, Bertha Seitman, Lois Sloofman, Jenny Stein, Alfred Steindecker, Lily Nathanson Sussman, Gustava Vorhaus, Anna Wildman, Edith Wilson, Molly Goldzar. So those names and the names we keep in our hearts, we join together in the words of the Mourner's Kaddish. If you're following along in the Siddur, it's on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, ba'alma divarach cheruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, b'chayachon uvyamechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mefarach la'alam olmei amaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei d'kudusha barichu, La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, ta'amiran ba'ama v'imru amen. Yehei shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mamav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mamav, Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'imeru amen. When the pandemic started and Rabbi Michael and I started doing services to an empty room, we thought in the beginning that it might be nice at the end of service to play maybe a secular song that everyone knew just to keep people's spirits up, and it has kind of stuck. So we've done a different song every week, and we always try in some way to relate it to the Parsha or the theme. So tonight, a little Bob Dylan for you. Feel free to sing along. We're not doing the whole thing, don't worry. 'Twas in another lifetime, one of toil and blood, when blackness knows a virtue and the road was full of mud. I came in from the wilderness, a creature void of form. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. And if I pass this way again, you can rest assured I'll always do my best for her, on that I give my word. In a world of still-eyed death and men who are fighting to be warm, come in, she said, I'll give you a shelter from the storm. I was burned out from exhaustion, buried in the hail, poison in the bushes and blown out on the trail, hunted like a crocodile, ravaged in the corn. Come in, she said, I'll give you a shelter from the storm. Now there's a wall between us, something there's been lost. I took too much for granted, I got my signals crossed, just to think it all began on an uneventful morn. Come in, she said, I'll give you shelter from the storm. Thank you to each of you who are our shelter from the storm. Thank you for all you do.